Worry has a way of sneaking into the corners of your life, making itself at home, and draining your energy before you even realize it. It starts small, just a passing thought about how you'll make ends meet this month, or whether that situation at work will turn out the way you hope. But before long, it grows into a constant companion, whispering in your ear from morning until night. And the truth is, worry is a thief. It robs you of focus, and it robs you of the joy God intended for you to live with. What makes it worse is that worry gives the illusion of productivity. It feels like you're doing something because your mind is working overtime, going through every possible scenario, playing out every possible outcome. But if you stop and look at what worry actually accomplishes, you'll realize it doesn't add a single solution. Worry is like running on a treadmill. You exert all this energy, you sweat, you pant, you feel exhausted, but when you step off, you're in the exact same place you started. It consumes time and energy, but leaves you standing still. When you let worry control you, it takes the strength that could have been used to solve problems or to encourage others, and it drains it on fear of what might happen. That's the enemy's trick, keeping you tied up in knots over what ifs so that you never move forward into what is. He knows that if he can distract you with endless thoughts about the future, you'll miss the opportunities God has placed in front of you today. And let's be real, most of the things we worry about never even happen. Think back to all the sleepless nights you've had, tossing and turning over situations you were sure would break you. Yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still covered by grace. Worry wasted your energy in those moments, but it didn't move you 1 inch closer to a solution. That's why Jesus said, which of you by worrying can add a single hour to your life? Worry doesn't extend your life, it shortens it. It doesn't solve your problems, it multiplies them. It doesn't give you control, it highlights your lack of control. The hours you spend replaying negative outcomes in your head could have been spent in prayer, in planning, in resting, or in connecting with the very people who could support you. Instead, worry leaves you worn out with nothing to show for it. So if you're tired of being drained, if you're weary from carrying the weight of tomorrow on your shoulders, you've got to make a decision. You can keep rocking back and forth in that chair, wasting your strength, or you can step off, hand your burdens over to God, and let him carry the weight. He never asked you to carry everything alone. He asked you to trust him. Because while worry produces nothing, faith produces everything you need to keep moving forward. The same God who holds the universe together, who keeps the planets in their orbit, and who paints the sky with every sunrise and sunset, is the very one who has promised to take care of you. He's reminding us that his provision isn't limited to the animal kingdom. It extends to his children. You don't have to live as though you're on your own, scrambling to make things happen. You have a Father who sees, who knows, and who provides. The problem is that we often magnify our needs and minimize our God. We look at our stack of bills, but the God who spoke the world into existence with a single word is not intimidated by your situation. He's not scratching his head wondering how to fix your problems. His resources are unlimited. His wisdom is unsearchable, and his power is unstoppable. What looks impossible to you is simply another opportunity for him to show himself faithful. That's why worry is so unnecessary. It forgets who's in charge. It acts like the weight of the universe is on your shoulders when in reality it's still on his. Worry questions his care, but faith remembers his track record. Has he not carried you before? Has he not opened doors when you thought all were closed? Has he not made a way when there was no way? If he has done it before, he can and will do it again. The same God who sustains creation is the same God who sustains you. So the next time you feel anxiety creeping in, lift your eyes to the heavens. Look at the stars, watch the birds, study the flowers, and let them remind you, if he can hold the world together too. Your needs are not forgotten. Your life is not overlooked. The creator of everything is still your provider, and his care for you will never fail. The way you see your problems will always be determined by the size of your faith. Life will never run out of challenges. There will always be bills to pay, obstacles to overcome, illnesses to fight, and relationships to navigate. But the real question is this: when those problems show up at your door, do you view them through the lens of fear or through the lens of faith? Fear magnifies the problem until it looks like a giant that you can never defeat. Faith magnifies your God until you realize that no giant can stand against him. It's not that your problems are small. They may be very real, very pressing, and very overwhelming. But when compared to the power of the one who holds the universe, they don't stand a chance. When you allow worry to dominate your thoughts, what you're really doing is shrinking God down to the size of your problem. You start to think he might not show up this time, that maybe he doesn't care, or perhaps this situation is too complicated even for him. But when faith takes the lead, it flips the script. Faith says, my problem is big, but my God is bigger. My situation looks impossible, but with God, nothing is impossible. Faith doesn't deny the reality of the struggle. It simply refuses to let the struggle dictate the outcome. Instead of panic, you walk with peace. Instead of despair, you walk with hope. Instead of paralysis, you walk with courage. So ask yourself, how big is your God in your eyes? If he is truly the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the one who speaks and things come into existence, then why are you letting that diagnosis, that debt, or that deadline dictate your joy? Your faith determines whether you sink under the weight of your problems or rise above them. The choice is yours. You can shrink in fear, or you can stretch your faith and watch God do what only he can do. Worry is more than just an emotion. It's a signal, an alarm system built into the soul that tells you something is out of alignment. When worry takes hold, it's not just about the bills, the job, or the health report. It's really about where your focus is. Worry is the flashing red light on the dashboard of your life saying you've taken your eyes off the source. It is a warning that you've shifted your attention from the one who holds the solution to the problem itself. Think about driving a car. If a warning light comes on, you don't ignore it. You don't cover it with tape and pretend it's not there. You recognize that something under the hood needs attention. Worry works the same way. It is your spirit's way of saying you are staring at the wrong thing. Instead of looking at God's promises, you're looking at the problem. Instead of remembering his power, you're rehearsing your fears. The more you fixate on what you can't control, the more anxious you become. But the moment you shift your focus back to God, you start to find peace again. That's why the Bible says to fix your eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. What is seen is temporary. Those bills, that sickness, that challenge at work, they are all temporary. What is unseen is eternal. The faithfulness of God, his unchanging word, his sovereign power over all things. Worry tells you to keep replaying the scene of your trouble, but faith tells you to lift your eyes to the one who has already written the ending. When Peter stepped out of the boat to walk on water, as long as his eyes were on Jesus, he did the impossible. But the moment he shifted his focus to the waves, he started to sink. Worry is like those waves, loud, threatening, and overwhelming. If you focus on them, you will sink every time. But if you fix your gaze on Jesus, you'll realize that the storm doesn't have the final say. Worry should never be ignored, but it should never be entertained either. It should serve as a prompt, a reminder to pray, to trust, to realign your focus. Every anxious thought is an opportunity to turn back to the source. Instead of spiraling into panic, you can use that moment to whisper, "Oh Lord, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I trust you." That simple act shifts the weight off your shoulders and places it where it belongs, on him. So the next time worry rises up, don't let it dominate you. Let it direct you. Let it push you into prayer instead of panic, into worship instead of weariness. Treat worry like the signal. It was meant to be, not as a permanent state of mind, but as a temporary reminder that your eyes need to be lifted higher. Because when your focus returns to the source, peace follows, and suddenly the problem that once consumed you doesn't look nearly as big as the God who is with you. Prayer is the antidote to panic, and worship is the remedy for worry. When anxiety presses in and your heart starts racing, the natural response is to panic, to let your mind spin in circles trying to find a way out. But panic never produces solutions. It only multiplies confusion. Panic is like a storm in your soul, tossing you back and forth until you feel like you're drowning. That's why prayer is so powerful. Prayer takes the storm and hands it over to the one who can calm the winds and waves. When you pray, you are not just talking into the air. You are placing your burden into the hands of the Almighty. You are transferring the weight from your shoulders onto his, and he is more than capable of carrying it. Prayer shifts the atmosphere inside you. He has given you a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind, not fear. Worry is not your inheritance. Victory is. Fear is not your identity. Faith is. The chains that worry tries to wrap around you have already been broken at the cross. But when trust takes its rightful place, peace enters like a gentle flood, quieting the noise inside you and giving you the strength to stand firm, even when the storm still rages around you. Peace is not the absence of problems. It's the presence of God in the middle of those problems.